Hi guys, I'm doing something a little bit different with my videos this week because there is a really big deal going on right now here in the Netherlands because about 70 years ago today, give or take, was sort of the launch of Operation Market Garden, which most of you probably will have heard of. That was a huge airborne invasion of the Netherlands to try to kind of quickly beat down the Germans. It was kind of a brave effort, but unfortunately and famously it didn't end up quite working out, but it nonetheless had a huge effect on sort of the progress of the war after that, and it had a big impact too on the Netherlands and the people living there. It's sort of in the sort of southern and southeastern part of the country, which was where most of the fighting occurred for this operation. So because of really Market Garden's importance, it's often remembered here quite spectacularly. There's a commemoration of it every year, which always includes sort of a small parrot drop near Oosterbeek, which is where the original British landings occurred. And, you know, so you can go see that pretty much every single year. But this year is extra special because it is the 70th anniversary year. So there's a whole bunch more going on. There's going to be the parrot drop, of course, too. It's going to be extra large. And there's going to be some other things, like a lot of reenactment events, and there was a lot of period World War II Allied armor driving around in that part of the country. A lot of it's even coming up from England. There's a whole convoy driving from the sort of southern Belgian border up to Nijmegen. And so there's a ton to see. Just, there's lectures, you know, movie screenings, art exhibits, all kinds of things. And it's really kind of going on the most this week. This is the big week, and there's going to be a finale on Saturday. So this week, besides my usual painting tutorial, which will have an Operation Market Garden focus, I'm going to be doing extended coverage of this whole commemoration. I'm going to be filming at a variety of events and showing you what's going on, especially at the big finale on Saturday, where there's going to be a whole bunch of really cool stuff happening. And this video is kind of a kickoff. It was filmed actually by our marketing and sales director, Wendy de Goederen. She lives in Oedenrode, which is a small village near Eindhoven, and there was quite a bit of fighting and things going on in that area at the time of a Market Garden, which is why there's now this convoy of military vehicles driving through the village. This particular convoy that Wendy filmed is largely jeeps, various sizes of trucks, ambulances, trailers, and other sort of service-type military vehicles. And they contain both American and British reenactors, and just people who maybe aren't much into reenacting but just own one of these old vehicles and enjoy driving it around. Because after the war in the Netherlands, many old military vehicles were just sort of left here because it wasn't worth the effort to bring them back to America, or they were just damaged and people didn't want to bother with them. So, you know, because things were pretty hard after the war and resources were scarce, people or locals often appropriated old military vehicles to use, maybe not so much practically, but then later on, you know, just owning one of these became a hobby. It's something that people do here. It's kind of like, you know, keeping in America, having hot rods or driving around in vintage cars. A lot of people adopted these abandoned World War II military vehicles, and they fix them up and they keep them in really nice condition. And when there are events and commemorations like this, they enjoy driving them around and showing them off. Now, I will say, this is, to be fair, this is not all Dutch owners driving these vehicles. There's people coming to this event from all over, from England, I'm sure, Belgium, I don't even know, probably other countries in the area. I don't know the exact list, but there's definitely a lot more people participating this time than usual. Now, in a future video, I'm going to be offering coverage of more sort of diverse vehicles, since what we see here, as I said, is mostly service vehicles. But there are definitely larger fighting vehicles that are participating in this whole event. And those are going to be around, especially more later in the week. So there's going to be various tanks, AA guns, tank destroyers, Bren carriers, half tracks, all that sort of stuff is also present for this reenactment. It's all in working order, so it'll all be driving around, and I'm definitely going to be filming that for you, because I can imagine, or at least I hope, that all of this will be a great inspiration for you if you're working on a sort of World War II era, Operation Market Garden era army. Because, you know, at least for me as a painter, really the way that you can get the best sense of how things look, really the best idea about colors and the feel of everything is to look at real life, in the flesh examples of the people and the, you know, the tanks and armor and vehicles that were being used. And what I've shown here in this video is basically only a small sampling of what was really participating in this convoy. It was very, very long, this particular parade, and I just decided I would cut some stuff for time reasons because there were a lot of things here in this whole procession that were very similar. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please tune in later this week for even more coverage of the Operation Market Garden commemoration in the Netherlands.